In the beginning, three words that don't just mark the start of the Bible, but the start of everything: light, life, and purpose. But here's the real question. What does Genesis have to do with your life today? Turns out everything. Genesis begins with the most powerful statement. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. That means everything around you, the sky, the oceans, the stars, was formed intentionally, but more importantly, you were formed intentionally. Ever had moments where you wonder if your life has meaning? Maybe you feel lost in the chaos of life, like just another person in a crowded world. But Genesis 1:27 says God created mankind in his own image. That means every single person, including you, was designed with value, creativity, and purpose. So the next time you doubt your worth, remember, you are here because God wanted you here. But then things take a turn. Adam and Eve live in paradise. Everything is perfect until temptation enters the scene. The serpent whispers doubt. Eve eats the fruit. Adam follows, and suddenly everything changes. Sound familiar? We all face choices that test us. Maybe it's a small compromise at work, a lie to cover something up, or chasing after things we know aren't good for us. Sin often starts as a whisper. Did God really say? But it leads to consequences. But here's the hope. Even in failure, God's plan doesn't end. He calls out to Adam and Eve, covers them, and sets a plan for redemption into motion. No matter how far we fall, God always invites us back. Now fast forward to Noah. The world is corrupt, full of violence and selfishness, and God tells Noah, one faithful man, to build a giant boat in the middle of dry land. Imagine how ridiculous that must have seemed. Have you ever felt called to something that didn't make sense? Maybe stepping into a new career, trusting God for something you can't see yet, or standing strong in your faith when others don't understand. But Noah obeys. The rain comes, the flood rises, and while the world falls apart, Noah and his family are protected. The lesson: obedience to God's voice leads to protection, even when we don't understand the plan. Then there's the Tower of Babel. People decided they didn't need God. They could build their own greatness. They wanted to make a name for themselves. Sound familiar? How often do we chase after success, fame, or status, thinking it will fulfill us? But Genesis shows that pride leads to division. In this case, literal confusion, as God scatters them and scrambles their language. If you're chasing something, ask yourself, is this for God's glory or just mine? Because only one will truly last. Next, we meet Abraham. He's told to leave everything and follow God to an unknown land. He's promised he'll become the father of many nations despite being old and childless. Ever felt like God gave you a dream, but it's taking too long? Abraham did too. He waited years for Isaac to be born, but God always keeps his promises, even when the timing doesn't make sense. And finally Joseph. He's betrayed, sold, falsely accused, and thrown into prison. But God wasn't done. Years later, Joseph becomes second in command in Egypt. He saves millions during a famine, including his own brothers, the ones who betrayed him. Maybe you've faced setbacks, loss, betrayal, rejection. But Genesis teaches us that God is always working behind the scenes. Your setback is just a setup for something greater. The book of Genesis isn't just an ancient story, it's our story. It reminds us that you were made with purpose. Sin has consequences, but grace is greater. Faith means trusting God's plan, even when it's unclear. Your struggles don't define you, God's promises do. Which story in Genesis speaks to you most? Comment below, share and subscribe for more biblical insights.